In contemporary art, comics, cartoons, and illustrations can express what other creative forms may struggle to convey. That's the focus of Illustrating a Point, an exhibit at Stoveworks here in Chattanooga, opening Friday with a reception starting at 6 p.m. Mark Bradley-Shoup curated the exhibition. Will Sutton and Jules Jackson are two of the artists whose works are part of Illustrating a Point. Mark, Jules, Will, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Tell us more about this exhibition.
This exhibition, titled Illustrating a Point, has been something I've been playing with for many, many years. It is connected with my love of animation and illustration. And so I've curated a bunch of artists, ranging from beginning career artists to mid-level artists to very cemented artists from all over the country. Illustrating a Point is an attempt to chronicle this growing trend by creating artists who employ a more playful and illustrative approach to image making and cover subject matter ranging from environmental degradation, social injustice, racial inequality, body image, absurdity, and playfulness. The illustrated image ventures towards iconic over realistic and aims for universal over specific, and I do think this show is greatly needed in this crazy time that we're living in.
How did you come up with this idea?
It's very much based in my immersion as a child in the love of cartoons. It's kind of what got me started as an artist. That and Dungeons & Dragons, honestly. Those two things.
Will, talk more about you.
I'm so thrilled to be included in this exhibition. I think it's worth saying that Mark was one of my favorite faculty I worked with at UTC. A lot of these artists in the show I can remember, are artists that Mark showed us in our presentations in Drawing 1, 2, and 3, some of which became many of my heroes, not to mention Ed Templeton. Mark and I both have this shared history of skateboarders. Ed Templeton is one of the reasons, or biggest inspirations for me as an artist and a skateboarder. So being in a show with him is huge. Which is Amy Cutler is one of my heroes. So it's a pleasure to be included in this exhibition.
Jules, how about you?
I'm also so excited to be part of this exhibition. I am about to make a big transition. I'm about to move to Boulder, Colorado to get my Master of Fine Arts. And this is going to be, I think, the last show that I have in Chattanooga before I make that move. So this is really exciting, and it kind of marks that transition. I created an original painting for this show. As Mark was saying, I also take a lot of inspiration from animation and cartoons and comics. And I do think that playing with cartoon imagery and abstracting the figure in that way can help us approach serious subject matter in a way that feels playful and non-threatening. So that's something that I try to bring to all my work. But this piece, it's called Let Me In. It is one of my biggest pieces that I've done to date, and I created it specifically for this show. So I'm really excited to share it with everybody. Will and I are both big fans of Mark. Mark was one of my favorites too when I was here at UTC.
I'm blushing.
So we're very honored to be selected for this show.
And Mark, talk more about your role here at UTC and how that has informed this show and comes back around to the classroom.
One of the things that I'm a big believer in, I've been an educator for over 20 years here, and one of the things that I absolutely believe in is trying to connect with community. And I saw a really good opportunity for being able to get some of my favorite, I shouldn't say my favorite students, some very talented students, there's a couple others in the show too, some very talented students to be able to be part of a community that's not just local, not just regional, but it's also national, even somewhat international in a way. We're dealing with some people in the show, like I would say Amy Cutler, who's in Faden's Vitamin D. We're looking at people like Amy Pleasant, who is a Guggenheim Fellow, as well as, I would say, Michael Scoggs is another Guggenheim Fellow. We have some pretty major hitters in the show. And so for me, it was very exciting for some of these big names saying yes, hanging out with some of these new names. And to me, it's kind of like a really wonderful way to create this community that we need to share some of the stuff that's being thought about. There's some really heavy stuff. And as Jules said, sometimes when we take a playful way or a playful approach to image making, dealing with serious subjects, sometimes we open the door a little bit wider for a bigger conversation.
And this is also hands-on art. As much as we hear about digital technology, as much as we hear about AI, when it comes to the type of art and the focus of this art, there's no replicating that.
Well, it's funny. Yes, I absolutely agree with that. And I think we have a pretty wide variety of artists in the show that are dealing with primarily drawing and painting, but also illustration practices. And in fact, one artist, Fend in particular, does a lot of digital work. And to me, I think this is a great way to kind of showcase all the various approaches to what we consider playful image making, but also getting people to pay attention to things that deserve our attention.
Absolutely. I just feel like if you directly address something that's serious, something that's hard to talk about, sometimes people just kind of instinctively withdraw from the conversation. So if you can wrap something serious inside of a joke, or if you can wrap something serious inside of play, it really invites people in, and it creates this space of vulnerability too. Shared vulnerability. So I think that that's really powerful. But yeah, I am really excited to be in this show with so many heavy hitters and so many of our heroes. And Mark has really done a great job of bridging that gap and creating those connections. So this is huge for us.
I do think it's like interesting thinking about this illustrative cartoony quality that is coming up in contemporary artwork as we're being exposed to so many images through digital media all the time. I'm curious how something like AI will affect us in the future, where we have so much like digital media, like is it real, like is it whatever, when we can just see like cartoony, silly drawings that is undeniably human, right? Like how is a computer able to replicate a replication of a human? And can we achieve like stupidness or silliness? You know, it's like those are core human qualities.
And we can. I think we have a couple of times.
Yeah.
I think we have a history demonstrated over millennia of not only achieving but overachieving in some of those areas.
Yeah, I would say so. That reminds me of something called the masking effect, which is when you see a photorealistic drawing or a photorealistic image of some kind, your mind perceives it as other, as outside of yourself. Because we're inside of our own heads all the time, we perceive ourselves as abstract. So when you see an abstract figure, a cartoon, it feels more like yourself and your experience of being inside your own mind. So you can relate to it more.
Well said. The cartoon becomes a shell, right? It becomes kind of a vacuum in which you can assign, you get to fill in the blanks, so to speak. I think the more details you give, the more specific you become. Again, you create the other, you create a definitive image, but when you keep it kind of open and vague, then all of a sudden you're able to kind of project a little bit more of yourself into that equation.
All right. Mark, Jules, Will, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very
us.
much.
For more on Illustrating a Point and more exhibits opening Friday at Stoveworks, visit stoveworks.org.